connected to Business Wrap. Find us online at businesswrap.biz, on Twitter using handle AskBizWrap, and on Facebook, just search Business Wrap. And now, Effective Communication with Phil Zeller, CEO, Dale Carnegie, Southwest Michigan.
We've all been there before. That communication that haunts us, that communication we had with another human being that to this day, it hangs over our head. You know the one I'm talking about. That one where emotions were flying high and things were said and things are remembered and things are said to be never forgotten in that conversation. You've been there. You know what? It's amazing how many people we encounter that have had these conversations in their life that never had to go that way, that never had to be that negative, but they did, right? And so, you know, as we look at these communications and we look at our conversations, and on the show we talk about effective communication, there's so much that goes into being effective in communication. And one of the biggest things about it, as I talk to people, is that they remember a time where that conversation they had with somebody did not go well. And the challenging thing about it is, like you, like me, like all of us, we have situations in our life, we have some regrets that we wish we would have handled differently. Well, the beautiful thing about it is in communication, we can mature, we can move forward. Let me give you an example. This past weekend, a friend of my son's had stopped by at the house. I'd met him before. And we were talking a little bit, and I realized that I sensed something going on with him. I said, "What's going on?" And we started talking about his background, and he shared with me that his mother had died unexpectedly when he was 9 years old. And it was a tragic situation because he was living with his mom at the time. His parents had been divorced, and his sister was there with him, and he'd come out of the bathroom and only to hear his sister yelling for help. And when he got there to the bedroom, he noticed that his mother was there lying there. And his sister had called 911 and had handed him the phone and said, "Hold it right there as I talk to them." And she's trying to administer CPR to their mother. And she passed away. And when the paramedics came up, the kids had tried to do everything possible, but they weren't able to save her life. I mean, they were children, right? 14 and 9 years old. And as I talked to this young man, he was sharing with me it was a shocking, tragic situation that he experienced in his life, with being there witnessing the loss of his own mother due to a heart condition. And after things had taken place, he and his sister were talking, and she got really upset with him. And she started to blame him for their mother's loss. Now think about that for a moment. A 14-year-old child blaming a 9-year-old child for their mother's loss. Now, you and I are listening to this, and we're thinking, okay, well, we're adults, and unless you're a teenager listening to the show today, and you're probably thinking to yourself, how could you blame the 9-year-old, right? Well, I asked him, I said, when you were 9 years old, what is it that you did? And he goes, I didn't do anything. And I said, say that again. He goes, I didn't do anything. And I said, you were just a typical kid, right? Yeah. I said, you weren't your mom's doctor. He said, no, I wasn't her doctor. I said, you weren't charged with taking care of her and for her well-being, were you? He said, no, I was her kid. And I said, well, what's gone on with your sister since? He said, well, ever since that day that she blamed me, we've never spoken again. And I thought to myself, wow, how many years are lost where somebody didn't speak to somebody because somebody blamed somebody? So I challenged this young man. He's now an older teenager. And I asked him, I said, looking back on it now, if you think back about it and you realize that, it wasn't your fault and you had nothing to do with it, and you look at this situation, I said, have you ever met a 14-year-old girl before? And he's like, yeah. And I said, how many 14-year-old girls have you met? He goes, well, a lot. I've been to school with a lot of them. I said, okay. I said, does every 14-year-old girl have everything figured out? He goes, absolutely not. He goes, some of the stuff they say is absolutely crazy. And I said, really? I said, so what about what your sister said when she was 14? Think about it. Step back for a moment. Be objective with the situation. She was in shock. You tried to save your mom. She tried to save your mom, and your mom passed away. And she didn't know how to deal with it. She didn't know how to process it, so she lashed out, and you were there. And a lot of times what happens between siblings blame each other for things, and you got blamed. But looking back at it now, it wasn't you. You know that she's got to know that. So I'm going to challenge you. He shared with me he hadn't talked to her in years. I said, I would like you to go speak with her and talk with her and say, hey, I just wanted to talk to you, and I want to share with you that we both went through a shocking experience losing mom, and that we both are really hurt by the situation, and we had some harsh words afterwards, and I know that you shared with me that it was my fault, And to this day, I've tried to ponder that and think about that, and I don't see how it was, because I was never a doctor and I didn't take care of her or do that. But if it does make you feel better and you want me to take responsibility for it because it allows you to clear your conscience, then go ahead and blame me for that, but realize I can't blame myself for that. But I forgive you for what you said. I forgive you for what you do. And he looked at me and said, wow, that's really huge. I need to do that. And I said, yeah, what will that do for you? He said, well, it will give me peace. He goes, it will give me my sister back. It's bad enough I lost my mom. Now I lost my sister as well, and I can get her back, and she's still alive. So the power of forgiveness, it's huge. It gives us peace of mind. It brings people back together, people that we once loved. So find in your heart, think about it. Ask yourself, have you done everything possible? And if you seek forgiveness and you get it, you'll find yourself more at peace. Now go make it happen.